Muy buenos días, gente linda, gente hermosa. Estamos aquí para presenciar lo que vendría siendo un pequeño, no sé si tan pequeño hito dentro de la comunidad de Foxhole. Creo que la primera cuestión que se dijo, ¿cuándo llegan los aviones? Ahora, now is the time, the time is come, the time is come. Así que vamos a esperar a que empiece el directo. Todavía no sé, todavía como que no están, no están, no quieren, no quieren. Pero ya cambiaron la imagen. Vamos a ver, vamos a ver, vamos a ver qué se teje en este live stream poco entretenido, poco original de Foxhole. Mm. Human,
Sí, sí,
confírmame si estás metido en el live stream, por favor.
sí. Sí se ve.
Ya. Yeah. Vamos a esperar nomás, vamos a ir actualizando de vez en cuando. Se supone que a las 3 comienza. Suelen demorarse un poco a veces. No sé, tengo ese presentimiento. Tengo ese presentimiento. Bueno, comunidad. No sé quién será, de qué parte será el amigo ruso que nos saludó. Nos dijo Darova. Según el traductor me dice que es serbio. Con suerte se saludar en ruso, Dobry Utro o Privyet. Así que vamos que queda tiempo todavía para que comience. Pero creo que es algo que la comunidad, una parte, como dije en anuncios, ¿cachai? De mi canal de Discord, si quieren se pueden meter ahí. Eh, hay una parte de la comunidad está expectante, otra es escéptica a todo esto que va a llegar ahora. Puede que signifique, no sé si un game changer dentro de lo que vendría siendo una guerra dentro de Foxhole. Acuérdense que ya van como en cuál van ya, como en la 130, 127 por ahí. O me he perdido ya muchas guerras ya que yo voy volviendo esporádicamente a Foxhole.
En
Eh,
Evo ya van en la 1-3-1 parece.
Enable 131, la 131, wow. Pensar que yo participé en la 100, weón. Fue brutal esa que acaban. Eh, entonces, es algo que la gente ha estado esperando mucho para ver cómo lo implementan. O sea, cómo, cómo se le han arreglado los chiquillos de Siege Camp para poder meter aviones en un juego con vista isométrica y que funcione bien.
En bola hicieron lo que le dieron a Elite Dangerous para pasar de sistema a sistema y era la cosa.
Puede ser también. Especulaciones.
¿Tú lo has jugado?
Elite and Dangerous, sí, sí, jugué en su momento, pero nunca me lo pude pasar bien porque, bueno, no entendía el juego.
Ah. Es que cuando tú, por ejemplo, querías un sistema para otro, tenés que apretar la J para saltar el sistema y vaya al sol o al centro
Ah,
de gravedad más fuerte del sistema. La cosa es que tú podéis ir en Super Cruise, o sea, sin apretar la G al sistema, pero no te va a cargar. O sea, tú estás infinitamente yendo al espacio, pero nunca encontrar el sistema, a no ser que tú le hagas J y tú aparecí en el centro del sistema.
ujú, lo
O
más
sea, que
probable.
estés como pegado en el server hasta que apretéis J y te vaya al otro
Elite and
server del sistema.
Dangerous.
Elite, sí.
Buen jueguecito de nave, excepto cuando dijeron que iban a meter un DLC de podí bajar a tierra y verte las patitas.
Bien, bien malo esa parte. Lo único bueno de ese DLC es que te agregan naves y te dan otras cosas. Pero la verdad, disparar no es gran cosa.
O sea, mejor en ese caso esperar, ¿cómo se llama? Esperar ¿cómo se llama este otro juego? Star Citizen.
Eh,
O Space
bueno,
Engineers 2 con el multijugador, ya, sí.
yo, yo ni siquiera yo ni siquiera los comparo porque son diferentes juegos nomás. Porque Elite Dangerous no es como lo que está haciendo ese jueguito raro Star Citizen. O sea, es muy diferente.
Vamos a actualizar.
Y si lo consideré como jueguito de nave nomás, el Elite Dangerous, podría ser que está completo y finalizado.
O sea, es por eso que tenéis que juntar recursos, tenéis que hacer cosas dentro del juego. Todavía ni
Sí,
se
pero
muestran los devs.
sí, yo jugué harto de Elite Dangerous. Me gustan las navecitas.
Las naves. Deberías de jugar Space Engineers,
Simple.
po. Si jugáis Space Engineers, yo creo que te gustaría también.
¿No va a salir el 2?
Ya salió el 2 y están recién
Ah,
entrando en el Vertical Slice 2, en lo que vendría siendo la fase de los planetas. Bueno, los planetas son espectaculares, weón. Comparación a Space Engineers 1, que fue como el juego prueba. Space Engineers 2, ¿cachai? Otra weá, po. ¿Me entendí, no? Ya están mostrando las primeras fases por ejemplo, los molinos para generar energía, las Gatling. Ya mostraron un cockpit de caza. Y bueno, lo que va haciendo también la comunidad, pues, la comunidad, weón, de Space Engineers 2, la comunidad modder es la que le da mucha vida al juego. Entonces, está filete, weón, muy bueno. Yo creo que van a seguir el mismo formato de Space Engineers 1 con los DLCs de pago. Pero bueno, DLCs de mucho contenido por poca plata. Imagínate que en Space Engineers 1 un DLC te cuesta 3.000 pesos. Y te viene el mismo contenido como resquineado. Por ejemplo, no sé, po, de fábricas, ¿cachai? Te vienen tú tenés la fábrica Vanilla, la fábrica para poder procesar recursos. Y con un DLC los weones te meten un reskin de la fábrica. Te cambian algunas cosas, pero no llega a ser como una especie como de DLC pay to win. Pero llega a ser, no sé, si la fábrica en Space Engineers Vanilla tiene un conector arriba, un conector abajo y un conector atrás. Y a los lados, la fábrica del DLC va a tener un conector adelante, ¿cachai? Que no es un game changer dentro de
¿sabes
lo que...
cómo?
Son reskin.
Es como los Helldivers, la Warband.
Sí. No sé si tanto. Pero es que la Warband igual, los Warband igual son caros, pues. ¿Cachai? Acá estamos hablando de un DLC a 3.000 pesos. Lo puedo verificar al tiro. Espérate. Uy, ¿qué onda? ¿Qué onda? Podemos verificar al tiro. Y vamos a ver. Página de la tienda. Los DLC acá. 3.000 pesos. Todos valen 3.000 pesos. Inclusive el último que salió, que es el Apex Survival Pack. Ah, no. El último que salió se llama Space Señores Core System Pack. Cuesta 3.000 pesos. Y no salió hace mucho. Salió más un mes más o menos. APP. Así que... Bueno, filete. Ay, no. Volvemos acá. Realizamos. Sin conexión todavía. Sin conexión todavía. Hola, hola Kenji, bienvenido, bienvenido. Bienvenuti, bienvenuti. Venía a ver el...
A que ahora son los aviones.
¡Epa!
Feliz
¿Cómo?
año.
Feliz año, Kenji. ¿Cómo está todo por allá, mijo?
Callahan Fest. Aquí vale bien, estamos yo todo bien. Eso voy a preguntar.
Qué bueno, qué bueno. Me alegro mucho de escucharte,
Mi
me alegro
antiguo
mucho.
compañera Cava y Human están vivos.
Sí, pues si aquí están los dos. Human ahí me acompaña de vez en cuando acá.
Muy buenas tardes a todos.
Eso mismo. Opa, llegó tu Yours.
Listo,
Y se
me
fue tu
alegro que
Yours.
estén bien.
Llegó tu
Llegó y se
simpatito y
fue,
se
y se
fue.
fue, y se fue. Bienvenido,
Vamos a
bienvenido. Mira, llegamos.
manejar,
Disculpa, disculpa.
vamos a construir
Bienvenidos,
avioncitos.
chavales.
Dejan visa.
Vamos a construir anillos y anillos concéntricos de defensa antiaérea, weón, cuando llegue este DLC, cabrones. Prepárense. Human debe estar llorando ahí, se le deben de estar gritando los ojos.
Hagan lo que quieran. Yo estaré en un casa tirando los bombarderos para abajo. Porque odio los aviones.
Tómense. ¡Oh, oh, 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 opa! Está comenzando, está comenzando. Va a comenzar, va a comenzar. A mí me interesa que se vea. Uy, tenemos ocho a la vez, 8 personas viéndonos. Vamos, superamos otro máximo. Let's fucking go. Sebastián López, buenas
Epa,
tardes, equipazo. Muy buenas tardes. Cevita, Aka, Cava.
no compro.
Vamos. Ay. ¿Se escucha bien la música y todo?
¿Se escucha bien?
Vale, vale. To yours, bienvenido to yours. Estamos con máximo hoy día, 7 personas viéndonos a la vez. Oye, eso para mí es un hito. El F-22 en este update, no creo, to yours. Tiene más de ficción que de realismo este juego. Es más, yo estoy seguro que esta weá está enfocada en otro planeta donde la gente debe medir 1,50 m. O menos. Si como la persona más alta debe medir 1,50 m.
¿Debes pasar cuándo?
Bueno, yo estoy esperando un update de
Please.
super armas o un complemento Airborne naval. Acuérdense de dejar un
Sí.
pulgarcito arriba para que esto siga funcionando. Y aunque no lo dejen, va a seguir funcionando igual. Así que, pero siempre ayuda una suscripción o ayuda también un pulgarcito arriba. Muchas gracias.
Pulgarcito, pulgarcito.
Ahí tenemos a Kenji. DLC muy esperado.
Coño, YouTube puede poner los emojis más pequeños para uno no conseguirlos.
No cacho, Kenji.
Y buscando un dedito arriba ahí para ponerte y no
Ahí está,
consigo.
po. Ahí está.
Eh, es que es una miniatura, loco.
Supone que en algún momento debería de poder empezar a poner stickers más personalizados de la comunidad. Así que cuando llegue ese momento les vamos a avisar y los vamos a crear. ¿Les parece?
Buenísimo.
Qué bonito, weón. Qué lindo. Uy, esta imagen también es nueva. Y eso es lo que parece ser en la imagen, es un bombardero ligero. Sí. También vemos rafagazos, esas como nubes negras son artillería flak.
Todavía veo la foto del Foxhole y
Airborne, sí, sí, todavía no
doble
comienzan.
pantalla.
Todavía no comienzan, todavía no comienzan.
Ah,
Todavía están ahí,
ah,
están
ok.
como... Se están tomando su tiempo para presentar esto, weón, sí. Pero yo me acuerdo siempre, no sé, si es un presentimiento mío, siempre se han demorado, no sé.
Sabes que siempre avisan media hora antes para que se vaya llenando la sala y
Sí, pues que ahora no han avisado,
este,
po. Ah, sí, ahí avisaron. Lo que pasa es que recién me estoy acostumbrando a lo que son dos pantallas, entonces como que, weón, me
pero
confunde.
una vez que te acostumbres que tienes dos pantallas no puedes volver a una. Ya es un
Sí,
solo
sí.
camino,
No
un
me
solo
molestan
día.
las dos pantallas de todas formas. El que me dijo que iba a disfrutar mucho el tema de las dos pantallas iba a ser mi hermano, weón. Mi hermano me dijo, weón, a ti que te gusta mapear y jugar juegos de estrategia mientras escucháis videos, verlos, ver videos, weón, mientras veis, mientras mapeáis en juego y cuestiones así, te va a encantar, weón. 9, tenemos otro máximo histórico del canal. Vamos, 9 personas viéndonos simultáneamente. Bienvenidos a todas las personas que están con nosotros hoy día. En esta
Qué
ocasión tan
bueno.
especial.
Los usuarios de dos pantallas son muy felices, no tienen TDAH,
Sí, nadie habla.
haciendo varias cosas a la vez.
Sí. Oye, yo sé que existe gente que le gusta, en vez de ir directamente a la fuente, que es la mayoría de los casos, prefieren ver a alguien que esté comentando o algo así. De todas formas, igual prefiero estar callado en los momentos más especiales de lo que vendría siendo el devstream, porque igual hay harta información que ver. O sea, ¡oh! Comenzamos.
Oh,
Ah,
and already a technical difficulty. Hello.
hola.
Hello, hi, everybody.
Uy,
Welcome to our no longer bi-monthly dev stream. This is the Airborne preview update that we are going to be presenting to you today, and we have a ton of stuff to talk about.
Ahí
And while
comenzamos,
we have not
chiquillos.
talked in a really long time here in Foxhole land, I'm going to hand it over to Mark so that he can catch you up and we can start showing you all the stuff that we've been working on.
Yeah, it's been a big update and finally excited. We've been holding on to this for a long time and we're finally really excited to show you guys what we've been working on all this time. First, I want to just talk a little bit about what led to this update. You know, we for those that are new, we set out to build Foxhole almost 10 years now, just about getting around that mark.
10 años,
We
weón.
set out to build this persistent online war where there's thousands of players working together, not just on the combat side, but for every aspect of the war, making items, running supply lines, every aspect of the war, we wanted it to be driven by players. And there was really just a few simple principles that we've stuck to over the years. We've always tried to prioritize the gameplay. We haven't been afraid to try new things or to take risks, even if sometimes we miss the mark on some of these things, which we have. We've always tried to just continue to work at it, to iterate, to improve upon. But we've never shied away from trying to tackle big new features that we felt were crucial to fulfill the vision of the game, which Airborne is one of those, as you'll hopefully see today. And what we're going to show you today represents just one of the bigger steps in the journey. It's been one of the hardest dates we've worked on up to this point, and after 63 updates. And yeah, there's a lot of parts to this. It's not only Airborne, there's other things we have to show, and we're excited to show it. So just wanted to show a brief update for, again, those that are new, join us over the last
Let's
year.
fucking
Here's just
go.
a summary of some of the updates we've done over the years. It's all the art that we've done for it, and it's just nice to see it all in one place here. There's actually more updates than what's shown here, but we got to the point where we couldn't fit it all on one screen. So, but yeah, let's jump in do the first part of the update here, which isn't planes, but it's something cool. So we'll start with this video.
Let's go, ya comenzamos. Vamos. Ah, no te creo, weón. No.
Más árboles.
Ay, weón. Ahora es bonito el juego, weón. Opa. Esto para mí es comenzar con el pie derecho.
Yeah, so this is the first big feature we want to show off of the update. We've done a overhaul of all the visuals, of the environment visuals in the game, to be specific. And there's a couple of goals that we had for this. One is that we felt that other parts of the game, like the vehicles and the structures, had increased. We've increased the visual quality of them over the years as we've worked on the game. And one thing that we want to do is to go back to the actual world and the environment and to bring the visuals of those parts of the game up to the standards of everything else. So this was a massive effort. We've updated every tree, every blade of grass, every bush in the game, and we've also done this for each of the biomes in the game. We had to create new art for all of this, but the result is an environment that looks a lot more up to date with the rest of the game. And another big goal of this was when we came to work on Airborne, we really wanted to make sure that the world looked appropriate from high up in the sky, and a lot of the environment that we had originally made was not made to look appropriate from that high of a camera angle. So besides the actual visual art, we also did a bunch of engineering work to make rendering look appropriate from the sky. In fact, when we first tested out flying planes, the world looked very strange. A lot of the environment was not visible because of the way that the world was rendered, and we had to put a lot of work into making sure that shadows and structures and rocks and trees were all being shown from afar. And this has just been a massive effort. When you design a game to be made on the ground initially, and later on you want to make the game playable from the sky, it is a lot of work. So we're really excited about this. But Matt, maybe you can talk a little bit more about the process here.
Yeah, so one of the big things that we wanted to do was to make sure that the game still felt like Foxhole. We didn't want it to suddenly become something new or like hyper realistic, but we wanted to bring some of the visuals more in line, both thematically as well as just with the way that the art had kind of evolved in different ways. And so I wouldn't expect there to be like a whole bunch of new like little details or like facets to the world that weren't there before. It's just that a lot of the world has been updated, especially like we're talking like the natural environment, so foliage, grass, some of the some of the town textures and things like that have been updated. And one of the places that I think especially benefits a lot from the work that we've done here is the northern biome, which is a little bit flat in my opinion previously. It was something that we had worked really hard to try to figure out, but there wasn't really too many good solutions at the time for the way that we were doing some of the art, our workflow. So we also changed the workflow for how a lot of this stuff is done, which allows us to get a little bit more out of every like inch of the world without having to do a ton of like manual like work that would be otherwise incredibly time consuming for a team as small as ours. So we were able to take some of our experience and reapply it, given that we were doing this big overhaul. So a lot of what you're going to see is new areas that maybe feel like they have pretty old areas, sorry, that maybe feel like they have a fresh coat of paint. And it'll be kind of exciting to see how like videos and things like that come about as you guys dig into this. But one of the other big things is we are doing
Una
our
pena que todo va a
absolute
terminar
very,
siendo
very best to make
café,
sure that, like, if you could
lleno de
play
agujeros
Foxhole
y todo
well
destruido.
previously, you will be able to play Foxhole well now on the same sort of settings that you had before. That's the
Yippee.
goal.
Yippee.
You know, hopefully we will be able to continue to iterate and update and make sure that performance is where it needs to be, as well as
Exacto.
the
Todo
dev
se va a
range goes
quemar.
through and everything like that. So
Todo va a explotar.
I'm looking forward to seeing all of you getting your hands on this stuff.
The Foxhole GeoGuessr is going to need some major updates.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Sick.
Now let's we said that, let's get into the meat of the update. So let's talk about Airborne, right? So one of the things we did at the beginning was we wanted to set our goals straight for this update, because our goal was not to build the best flight simulator or to try to make a
Un
game
par de cráteres.
to try to build
Eso no es poco
an
decirte,
aircraft
Jules.
game that is comparable to other aircraft focused games. Our goal was to build the best thing that will make the parts of Foxhole special even more special, right? So we wanted to enhance the persistent war, and what we wanted to do was not only worry about what you're doing in the sky, but to worry about what's happening on the ground. Questions like, how do you build a plane? That should be a big deal in Foxhole. How do you supply the plane? How do ground crews keep your aircraft operational? These were the parts of aircraft and aircraft gameplay that we wanted to focus the most on, and we also wanted to just make sure that it worked really well with the land and the naval warfare games as well. And finally, large-scale player collaboration. We want to make sure that the big focus was on working together. If you're up in the skies, you could be most effective not by flying alone on your own trying to be a hero, but to work together with your crew on the ground. So that was a big focus of the gameplay. And without further ado, we want to give you guys a first look at how flying planes looks like in Foxhole. Let's see.
Vamos. Ya. Oh, ¿qué es eso, weón? Oh, weón, no te creo, con tu madre, weón. Oh. Sí, voy a subirle un poquito. A ver.
All right, that's how aircraft are going to work in Foxhole. So let's just talk about some of the basics first. Aircraft are fully controlled by players. It kind of goes without saying. There's different types of aircraft. There's fighters. There's bombers. There's scout planes. Other types of planes. And one of the things that we've done is we've chosen a level of simulation here for the planes that's designed to feel
Va a ser
similar
épico, Genji.
to other parts of the game. So we weren't trying to make an accurate flight simulator. We wanted to make it feel like it's in the same style of the infantry gameplay, of the vehicle gameplay, and the naval gameplay that we already had. But one thing that is a slight difference is that a high level of skill, more so than other parts of the game, more skill is required to fly. There is failure in flying. When you take off and land, these are things that you have to practice to try to get right. It's not something that you can necessarily get right on the first try. And that's in part because the flight
Ojo
model
al,
was
ojo al
made to
último punto,
feel
Aircraft can cross region borders. Eso
physically
quiere
based,
decir, ¿cachai? Que
as
puede que
parts of your aircraft
se
are
salten las
wrecked,
colas.
or it the physics model
Esto va a ser un puto
will react
desastre,
to
weón, en
that, and the
serio.
plane becomes harder to fly. So that's all to say that the flying experience is going to be a step up from driving a boat or driving a tank in the game. And to that end, crashing is a part of the game as well. And there is an eject function as well. You can eject from your plane if you're equipped with a parachute, which we'll talk a little bit more about later. Then you can survive the crash. Finally, aircraft can cross the region borders, similar to the land vehicles.
Ah, ya.
And to get a little bit
Vale.
more into user interface, talking about aircraft being a bit more skill-based, more information was required for the player on the HUD. So this is what the aircraft HUD looks like in-game. And to go over a couple of these things here, the VSI and the heading are there, useful to help players find, to locate airfields and to land. And then the altitude and the ground instruments are there to help you do a pair drop, or if you're doing a bombing run, that's information that it is critical for that. And also there's a landing gear indicator, because that's a big part of
Esto quiere decir que
taking off and
vamos a
landing.
tener que
And
estar
then finally the altitude
hipermente
indicator
atentos,
here just
weón,
helps.
a las
It's an
incursiones de
indicator that helps,
partisanos,
that is
weón, y
on
todo
not
eso.
only your plane but on the planes around you. And then the next thing I want to talk about is uniforms. So pilot uniforms are required to fly most planes in the game. And one thing to note is that the uniforms themselves are valuable. And the other thing, moreover, to state, which we'll get into more later, is that the planes themselves are extremely valuable resources, and the uniforms and the pilot themselves is considered a part of that value. So when you're flying up
El
there,
uniforme colonial está bonito, pero el
you would
Warden.
want to prefer
Ah,
to salvage
qué
your
lindo,
plane as
weón.
opposed to crashing it, and that's both because of the plane and the pilot uniform. But I do want to note that there are some planes in the game, specifically the scout plane, that it doesn't require a pilot uniform, and therefore it's more accessible to more players. So not everyone is gonna have to engage with this high value planes. You can, everyone's gonna get a chance to fly. And to jump ahead here to the roles, so there's, like Foxhole fashion, there's different roles that players can take on. Obviously there's the pilots, there's the gunners, and that works very similar to how it works in other vehicles. There's other roles here, like the bomber role. You're there to manage the bay doors and to drop the bombs, and there's also a co-pilot role on planes like the paratrooper plane that's responsible for opening the ramp for a paradrop. And then there's also other roles here, like managing the air brake on some planes like the dive bomber.
Llegó el tiempo de los haces de combate. Bueno, van a estar contando aviones,
Moving on
¿cachai?
to air combat for a moment here. So
Y lo que
fighters
más
can
me
intercept and
sorprende
engage
es que dejaron. Lo
the bombers,
hicieron
paratrooper planes,
para todo
and other
iguales.
aircraft. And those aircraft themselves can fight back the fighters. And one thing I do want to talk about here is the damage models on the planes. So let me just orient this here. So the damage model is a big part of the gameplay. Aircraft consist of different parts: wings, tails, and engines, and these parts can be wrecked or totaled. And as that happens, as damage is taken, the function of the aircraft will start to fail in different ways. The aircraft is going to be harder to fly, and the physics are going to react to it, right? So if your wing is torn off, you will start to struggle. If your tail is torn off, you will start to struggle even more, and you probably won't be able to fly the plane anymore. But as mentioned about the value of the plane, you will want to land your plane at that point, and try to salvage it as opposed to crashing. So a big part of the game is trying to manage when it's time to return to your airfield and to try to fix your plane as opposed to losing it out there.
Ouch.
And at this point, Max, I think I'm going to hand it over to you.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah, we had a lot of fun with this. So an aircraft can.
Es un avión de transporte,
we-
sí o sí. Un bombardero, ¿qué
Sorry.
opinan ustedes? ¿Qué creen
we
que
are
sea?
simulating a simple form of physics with these aircraft. So a lot of what I learned a lot about how aircraft works from working on these aircraft, but you'll start to get a sense for it once you start to feel the aircraft fall apart. Exactly how integrated the physics are into these aircraft. So, for example, when a wing gets wrecked, like you can see in the top left there, the lift of that wing is going to decrease, which is going to tilt the aircraft to the left and sort of pull the aircraft left. But you can offset that by using your rudder or your elevators to sort of shift right. And like I said, you'll get a sense for it once you're actually flying it. But it's really cool that as the aircraft starts to fall apart, as parts become damaged or wrecked and destroyed, that the aircraft starts to lose its functionality, starts to become harder to maneuver, might even start to climb and stall out. So the more practice you have in these aircraft, the better you're going to be as a pilot, but also the more likely you are going to be able to return to the airfield if you're taking significant damage. And as Mark pointed out, you'll want to try to recover the aircraft, even if you are taking tremendous amounts of damage. Even if you can't make it all the way back to the airfield, you might aim to land in friendly territory, for example, because even recovering parts of the plane would be a significant advantage or a significant cost savings to replacing it. So there's a lot of different kinds of actions that you can take as these aircraft. We've got the bombing runs, which you're meant to target land targets like facilities and soft structures. You can damage bunkers as well, but the expectation here is you should need a number of bombers to be able to do significant damage. We have dive bombers, which will be able to target land and sea vehicles. They'll have bonuses to subsystem disable chances. Torpedo planes, which obviously target ships. We got some really cool mechanics with that as well, which we'll get into later. And strafing runs. So the fighters will be able to target, they're predominantly meant for targeting logistics and disrupting ground-based, back behind the lines efforts, but you can also strafe frontline targets. But fighters have other roles as well, like protecting against bombing runs and shooting down scout planes.
All right, let's take a look at anti-air.
¿Dijeron antiaéreo? Sí, dijeron antiaéreo, parece, ¿no? No. ¡Opa! Mira, ¿qué les dije? ¿Qué les dije? ¡Oh, weón! Antiaéreo.
Someone in the chat is like, how do you even target? Yeah, you'll see. It's fun. So there'll be two kinds of machine guns. There'll be two kinds of anti-air that you can utilize against the aircraft. Some of the machine guns will be able to tilt up and be able to target aircraft directly, like fighters when you're coming in for a strafing run. Many of the ships will be able to do this. So true to history, the machine guns.
83 RD, clan de cañones antiaéreos. ¿Qué pasó? Acá volar va a ser más peludo que la chucha, weón.
Operate very similarly to artillery. They shoot into the sky and you have to try to land hits. There'll be an explosion that lingers in the air that planes could fly through and take damage, again, true to history. And it will require team effort to try to hit something moving that fast, that high.
All right, we'll just take a really quick look at the emplacements for each side?
Yeah, so this is the Colonial one. Both of these, the Colonial one and the Warden one, are very similar in functionality. There'll be one gunner who's there for to rotate it and also set the range, and the one gunner who actually has to set the pitch as well. So it's not done automatically. You have to figure out the pitch for the gun that needs to point up, and then try to figure that out or figure out the pitch needed to get the elevation you want to hit the aircraft in the sky. Here's the Warden one. Again, functionality is very similar.
Qué lindo, weón.
Cool. So how do you spot them coming? How do you know when to get on the AA guns? Well, we've got a couple of forms of air intelligence. We've actually split intel between land and air, so you can't see both at the same time. You'll want to see, so you'll have to set up specific structures for detecting aircraft, and then you'll have to utilize them for alerting your team that there's an air operation underway. So this is the radar structure. This is a new large structure, which has two functions. One is the detection of air intel, similar to like a watchtower, but for detecting aircraft. It has a very large cone that you can rotate, so you can point it in the direction that you want it to face for detecting aircraft. It also has a seat that will be useful for the aforementioned pitch, trying to figure out the range, the distance for
Acuérdense de mí,
artillery batteries.
van a estar todos muertos de miedo cuando salga el primer avión, sea del bando que sea.
To maximize your effectiveness.
Right. Now let's talk about aircraft logistics. This video coming up.
Necesito saber sobre las estructuras, weón. Díganme que no vamos a tener que estar todo el día pegados en los cañones antiaéreos para... Ya. Ahí para los tíos de la logística.
Todo en Large Assembly.
Sí. Todo un huevo, todo, literalmente un huevo ensamblar aviones.
There's a lot of questions in chat. I just want to remind you guys we will do
Primer
Reddit
punto,
Q&A
miren.
later, so don't worry about it. As Mark said for earlier on, the emphasis that we really wanted, we didn't want to lose focus of what Foxhole really is. This Foxhole is a game that takes place on the ground. It's a logistics game. It's an infantry game. It's a tank game, a naval game. Everything that happens on the ground should be as important as everything new that we're adding here. So Airborne, as much as it is the center of this update, we also wanted to make sure that we brought it back down to earth. What is it that you need to do to get aircraft running? What do you need to do to keep it maintained? A lot of our effort, like we said in the dev blog back in December, is supposed to be focused on the ground crews. It's well and good that it takes a lot of skill to be a pilot in the air, but you have to. What good is a pilot without the team that's dedicated to keeping their aircraft in tip-top shape? So
Atrás se ve
toward
un
that end,
uniforme.
we have airfields.
Atrás del
These are
avión
placed
de
throughout the
transporte se
world.
ve
These are
otro
world
uniforme.
structures.
Miren.
But they are not the only places where you can take off some aircraft. So the airfields will be required for specific air operations. It will consist of three main structures: the runway itself, which has two tiers for tier 1 for smaller aircraft, tier 2 for larger. It's got a hangar for building the smaller aircraft, like the scout planes.
Yo
And it's got an
veo
aircraft depot for storing the
paracaidista.
planes and constructing them
Para
and
acá,
bringing stuff in.
paracaidista.
And it sort of acts as the central logistical point for that airfield. Think of it kind of like a seaport, but for aircraft. So how we build
Fíjense
the
en los
aircraft.
detalles, por favor, en
So
los
this
detalles, los
is,
detalles.
this is where a lot of the teamwork comes in. So just like with large ships, how it requires a whole team to operate, not just people manning the guns, but people maintaining the ship itself. There will need to be a team of people who are keeping your aircraft running. And furthermore, they need to be out in the open. We really wanted it to be not some like UI thing. We wanted it to be all out in the open. You could see people walking around on the airfield, putting stuff together. So you'll build the airframe, which is constructed at the large assembly station. You'll bring that to the depot, which creates this, you can see in the background image, this kind of like airframe that's sort of missing all of its parts. Then you'll construct the parts, bring them over on trailers and small trains, and then submit them to the aircraft to put it together. There'll be many different kinds of parts that you need to for different kinds of aircraft, and then you'll need to produce the ammunition at factories and at the ammunition factories.
Sí.
An important note is that even
Armando
a lot of this
avioncito en el
sounds really
Foxhole.
complicated, and it's meant to be a team effort, but there is a small aircraft, that scout plane, that you can build without doing any of this. That doesn't need any facilities or anything. So smaller groups of players can choose to operate smaller aircraft, which will have less complexity. But even solo players can
Desde
get a
noche,
taste of
sí.
flight by playing in the scout plane without dealing with any of this stuff. So here's a screenshot of here's screenshots of generally what this will look like. You'll need to refuel your aircraft, which will be a huge part of aircraft. Having airfields that are close to the front will allow you to refuel them and get more flight time and give you an advantage in dogfights or in operational range. You'll need to assemble them together as a team. This can take time, and disassemble as well for repairing. When aircraft takes damage, it's a process to get those parts repaired. You'll need to take them off. You'll need to repair the underlying core structure. And you'll need to rearm them as well. You'll have to bring in the ammunition necessary. Some of them are large items, some of them are not. And yeah, it should be. Our expectation is that over time, or is that there will be a whole host of people on the ground. Air traffic controllers, even repair crew directors, people needed to keep flights of aircraft in the sky.
Awesome. And I think we're about on schedule, Max, for this next part, which I'm personally pretty excited about. So let's get to it.
A ver qué nos van a mostrar ahora. Paratrooping, ahí está, ¿veis? Muéstrame los Wardens, weón. ¡Oh, qué lindo, weón! Weón, qué lindo.
All right, let's talk about paratroopers. So, just to talk about how you equip and prepare for a paratrap, you
Voy a ponerle
obviously need
pausa.
a paratrooper
Es
plane.
que ya me imagino a un weón encima de un bombardero, porque voy a caminar por encima del bombardero, tirando mamos y weas para abajo, weón. Oh, conchito de sticky así.
Parachute. And everybody walks onto the ramp, and they load up onto the paratrooper plane, and the pilot flies it to the target location. The co-pilot will open the ramp, and to actually paradrop, it doesn't take much. You just walk off the ramp, and your parachute will automatically open. And then that's essentially how it works if you want to drop behind enemy lines. One important feature here is that once you jump out and once you hit the ground, paratroopers will be invisible to map intel for a period of time after dropping. Right now, that's around 30 minutes, but that time duration is obviously subject to change. And we'll just want to take a look at the two uniforms here. Here's the colonial uniform, and here is
El de los
the
Wardens, weón, es muy
Warden
lindo,
one,
weón. Me
and
encantó.
then there's also the backpack item here that is required to drop. And just to note,
Por eso lo digo.
you can jump out without a parachute, which is not a good idea. If you're over encumbered, your parachute will fail to deploy as well. So just it's possible to have accidents, and you need to be prepared.
Oh,
So,
imposible tener accidentes, weón.
and
Oh, concha tu madre,
having
weón. Esta va a
said
estar muy buena.
that, I think it's time to look at the aircraft for each faction, and I guess we will start with the colonials here.
Exacto. Hoy día hay carne para la cena, muchachos. Qué lindo, weón.
All right.
Se pasaron los weones.
Man, it's hard to believe how much time has gone by since we started working on these. It's been like 8 months. I know you get the community. You probably felt like it's been years, but
Oh,
we've
it's been
working
a
on
lot
these
longer than that. When we started working on the prototype, it's been almost 2 years. So
That's true.
I
Yeah.
mean, if you
Yeah,
want to get
yeah.
really, really technical, I mean, we did a prototype of this like 5 years ago or something.
I think we started. I think we started writing code about 2 years ago. I could be off by a couple of months, but yeah, I think it's been about 2 years. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. All right, so let's go through these aircraft one at a time. Let's give you guys a general sense of what we're expecting to see from them. But of course, a reminder that a lot of this stuff could change in Dev Branch, so try to take that with a grain of salt. This is the Colonial Scout plane. This is the plane that you will
Te voy a
be
hacer
flying if
mal.
you're just a solo player and you just want to get into the sky and see what it's like. The purpose of this aircraft is it can drop mines, surface water mines, which we'll get into a little bit later. And it has very limited ammo for dogfighting, but it can potentially fight other scout planes, and it can also do a couple of strafing runs.
Qué lindo, weón.
The Colonial Fighter. This is kind of the centerpiece of all of the planes. It kind of functions as the linchpin for the entire arsenal. It's predominantly used for countering other aircraft. If an enemy is doing a bombing run, for example, this is the premier way of stopping it. It's also used for dogfighting other fighters. It shoots down scout planes pretty well. And it takes only one pilot. So, but again, as we said earlier, the ground crew is important too. You'll have to keep these things rearmed and refueled. The dive bomber. This is my personal favorite.
This is one of my favorite. It's so fun. I don't know why,
It's so
but
fun.
It's so
Tan
fun.
bonito los aviones colonial, weón.
You
Está
can
muy
so
lindo.
yeah. So this is able to drop bombs on both.
Puedo notar
tanks
ciertas-
ships.
puedo notar
Its main
cierta-
advantage is that it damages the turret
como,
and it has subsystem, disable chances, so if you're attacking ships, for
como
example,
forma
you'll want to try
norteamericana,
your best to get
inglesa,
hit
tal
on
vez.
turrets in order to disable them. And
Por ejemplo,
that's why
no,
it's
no preferencias,
that
sino como por ejemplo,
active
se nota que por
diving
ejemplo el
down
mergo
towards the ship
Myrmidon
is
está basado en el
it
mosquito.
gives it its
¿Cachai?
accuracy and to try to drop that bomb
Y
exactly.
¿cómo se llama el otro? El fighter normal de los Colonials está basado en uno norteamericano que no me acuerdo cómo se llama. El
Right, Max? You want to talk about
Yeah, that's
Thunderbolt
right.
creo que
That's
se llama.
right. The rear gunner will help protect the plane from fighters, for example, that are on its tail. But it also has an air brake, so the gunner will be able to initiate an air brake, which will slow its descent, making that targeted hit a little bit easier. But that will require good teamwork and skill. The paratrooper plane. So yeah, as Mark said, you'll be able to launch air operations and drop partisans behind enemy lines. They'll be
Cacha,
invisible
puede,
to
puede
intel for
aterrizar
about 30
en,
minutes, again,
en,
subject to change
en
for
agua,
balance.
weón.
I want to just state that, like,
Eso igual va a ser un
for the longest
problema.
time, partisans have been
Problema para nosotros.
struggling in our game. They've just logistics is such a core part of our game. We had to be very careful not
De
to
todas
disrupt their
formas,
experience
se
too much.
sabe que el bando
And
colonial
this parity
es
for
siempre
plane
el
is
que
kind of our
ataca,
opportunity to go
el
back
invasor,
to some of
¿cachai?
that original partisan experience. Feeling unsafe in the backlines is supposed to be a part of Foxhole, but we need to make sure that that's carefully balanced. So we're going to be listening to you guys' feedback about that, but keep that in mind. The goal here is not is to ruffle some feathers a little bit. The Colonial Heavy Bomber, this tremendous number of bombs, and it does a tremendous amount of damage. But the
35
expectation
bombas,
here is that
weón.
you should need a flight of them. It shouldn't just be one guy in one bomber doing tremendous amounts of damage. It's supposed to be a whole wing of them flying in formation, trying to drop their bombs on the same
35 bombas,
target.
weón.
If you
Qué
can do that,
chucha.
this thing will be extremely devastating. And one of the most effective ways to counter it will be with fighters. So you'll want to protect them as well. You'll want to have fighter wings running alongside them, and possibly escape routes. If it starts to take damage and starts to go down, you'll want to try to find a way to recover them without going down behind enemy lines.
All right.
No,
that
se
does
lo van
it
a
for
comer,
the
weón, cuando
Colonial
caiga.
Aircraft lineup.
Cuando caiga el primero,
Now
se lo van a
it's
comer con papas
on
fritas.
to the Wardens.
Lo van a pescar y se lo van a llevar a un campamento para exhibirlo como trofeo. Lo primero que van a hacer. Acuérdense de mí. Ya, nosotros también tenemos aviación naval. ¿Y tenemos torpedos? ¿En serio? Mira. Veis, era un avión de bombardeo. Que son horribles, me encantan. Sí. Son súper feos los aviones guarden.
Cool. The Warden Scout plane. I forgot to mention this about
Pero
the
son
Colonial
hermosos,
Scout plane.
weón.
They both float on water, as you can see from the videos, which will be important later. Again, we'll talk more about it later. Similar to the Colonial
Esa weón.
Scout plane, this one, or recon plane, this Warden recon plane drops
Tiene
a
personalidad,
torpedo.
exacto.
So again,
Son horribles,
useful
weón.
over water, meant to counter small ships. It's got limited ammo capacity for shooting its machine gun, but its primary purpose is to support early game and small ship
Ojo.
naval.
Ese lo
The Warden Sea Fighter. So this is an extra plane, which we'll talk more about a little bit later. But this is an extra plane that the Wardens get that the Colonials don't. So you'll notice the Wardens actually get this one extra fighter, and I will explain why later. This is a fighter. It's more limited in its ammo capacity. It's slower in speed than the Warden fighter, but it does provide some more short-range options, like being able to land and take off from water.
Ese está bonito.
The Warden fighter. This one is
El
the,
Hardbinger.
symmetrical to
Muy
the
bueno.
Colonial one, but they're not
Muy
exactly
lindo.
the same. They both have a different feel to it. But this one has a 14.5 millimeter cannon, which is actually the AT
Consolador de
rifle ammo, the
caramelo.
20 millimeter that you guys are used to. We just changed we're changing the name because 20 millimeter was a little ridiculous that people were walking around with that. So it's got the secondary armament is an AT rifle that will allow it to target
Un
lighter
cazatanque.
vehicles like armored cars on the
Sí,
ground,
está muy
as
lindo,
well
weón.
as strafing targets. Torpedo bomber. This one is my second favorite
Che tu
ship.
madre,
And they're
weón.
pretty close between this one and the dive bomber. This one drops 2 torpedoes. What I love about this one is to get the torpedoes into its loaded up, you have to do the wrench thing, just like the
Che tu
submarines, which I
madre,
just
weón.
think feels really great. When you drop torpedoes, this is important. Take notes. When you drop torpedoes, you have to be a certain height above the water. If you're too high above the water, it'll detonate on the surface. But even at the height, if you're too high, the torpedo has to sort of go down into the water and then come back up to the surface. So if you're still pretty high,
¿Cuántas ventanillas quiere en el
and you
bomber?
drop the
Sí.
torpedo, you could miss your target by having the torpedo basically go under the ship that you're trying to hit. So you
Está muy
wanna try to
bueno,
give
me
yourself a
gustaron los
lot of
aviones,
run time,
pero son
and you wanna try
feísimos,
to get as
weón.
close to the surface of the water as possible to keep the torpedo on the surface.
Actually, it's funny, Max, because I felt the same about the dive bomber being my favorite.
Yo digo que va a
first,
haber
and then I
gente
saw
que va a
this
estar
one, and
muy
actually
enojada
later
con
on,
esto, con
I'm
los
like, I
aviones
think I'm
guarden.
changing-
Pues. Yo los
I think
encuentro
I'm changing
bonitos,
my
pero
position.
son feísimos, weón.
You guys are wrong. The dive bomber is cool.
Ese está bonito.
So here's the paratrooper plane.
Ese está bonito, ese me
Again,
gustó.
similar to the colonial
Eh,
one. This one functions a little bit differently
Está
with
bien.
where the parts are
El
located,
mismo,
but generally
pero
speaking,
el anterior,
it's,
pero más
it's pretty similar. There's
vista
actually something I've
general.
Está bonito, están bonitos,
they
pero
also
que,
carry
weón.
crates. You can carry this one carries a little bit more
¿En
than the
serio,
colonial
weón?
one, but they can carry crates on them. which
Parecen
represent about
submarinos
the
con
interior,
alas.
Con
which can be
submarino
used
con
for
alas,
delivery
weón.
from airfield to airfield. So if you wanted to do some air
Deberían haberle
logistics,
puesto por acá.
Nautilo,
critical supplies,
Se hunde,
you
se
might
hunde bajo el agua y puede salir de nuevo.
use paratrooper planes.
Está bonito, weón.
And the light bomber. It says light bomber, but they're pretty similar. I think it has a slightly
muy steampunk.
lower,
A mí
bomb
me
drop rate,
gustó
but
ese
Mira.
anterior.
ability is better.
Mira, el tiene
but they're very
32,
similar.
tiene 3 bombas menos que
This
el
one has
bombardero
two machine
colonial.
guns, one on the rear and one on the top.
Así
It
que
does not have
tan
one on
light
the
no
front.
es.
All right, it's time to talk about
Este
the
ocupa 4
next
personas.
big feature of the Airborne update, which we'll start up with a video here.
Piloto, copiloto.
A ver, que se ve, que se viene, que se viene. Espera. World Expansion. Oh, qué lindo, weón. Qué bonito, weón, por la cresta, weón. No me pueden decir que no se lucieron con este juego, weón. Con este update.
So we only showed a couple of new regions there, but there's quite a few more than that.
10 nuevos
Yes, 10,
mapas.
but more
de
than that
región.
technically, because we had to alter some of the existing maps a little bit.
Yeah, there's a lot more changes to the world than just adding.
¿Mejoraron
10
la
new
iluminación
regions,
o es que yo
but,
lo jugaba?
why don't you talk about a little bit of our motivation
144p.
for adding these new regions?
Yeah, sure. So we really liked the symmetrical view of the world, but it was we had to add some more maps because something we were feeling was that the naval gameplay was getting somewhat suffocated. Like there wasn't enough space to really maneuver. We watched a bunch of you guys' really great YouTube videos talking about the naval battles, and they tended to happen across 2 regions, even 3 regions, which is super awesome. But like that's the whole ocean. We needed more space if we're going to add aircraft to it, which could cross 1 or 2 regions or more, right? So we had to somehow add space, but we didn't want to take away from the land game, so we felt like we had no choice. We had to expand out. We had to create more playable ocean space so that you guys could have battles that didn't play out the same way every time.
I mean, and one of the big things that has been talked about before is more ocean space. Like that's something I've seen a lot of players talking about since before naval, even just having more like ocean tiles in general. So this was.
Denme estructuras, cabrones, weón, estructuras, weón, necesito estructuras, porque si no como voy a permanecer con un clan activo durante 24 horas seguidas, weón, pa... Che tu madre, weón.
One of the cool side effects of this is we get to explore a little bit more of some regions in the lore that maybe we hadn't previously. So a lot of the new, I think all of the new northern regions are in Nicknevin, and all the southern region, all the southern new southern maps except for Lycos Isle are in Valley, so we have even more Velian maps as well now. So that it'll be kind of cool. And some people who may have followed the development and all the way back to our older map concept art will recognize some of the names that show up.
Okay, I'm gonna actually show the new map before you guys keep talking.
Yeah, well, and one thing I will say too is some of the visuals are still work in progress, so just keep that in mind as we go into the dev branch and stuff.
Yeah, same with this map image. We this is a work in progress, so you'll notice the mountains are really hard to see. That's just work in progress, but you can. I think if you zoom in, you can probably gather.
Qué lindo, concha tu madre,
what's
man.
being changed here. I think the main thing you want to look at is how. Take a look at the roads on these new larger islands, these multi-region large items. They're somewhat different. I'll let you guys speculate about what that means. You'll notice we've had some places. We've made fingers basically a whole island because of how awesome it was and how much you loved it. But what we really loved about the fingers, we noticed from a lot of you guys' gameplay, was that fingers
Rompieron el meta invasión Warden, weón. The Fingers ahora es vale callampa, weón.
People really focused on it, and it was the center of so much conflict. And we really liked that, so we kind of did the same thing in several places here. We wanted to reach into the mainland so that you guys, when you take this island, it actually has meaning. Taking this larger island means like an easier jump off point for actually getting back onto the mainland.
All right. Are we done yet, Max? I think maybe we have a bit more here. Yeah, actually, there is something cool here. Where we talked a lot about this update, about about planes, about the graphical overhaul, about the new maps, and there is actually a second update we worked on to include in this Airborne update, and we're gonna show it to you now.
Ya. No, qué lindo, weón. Qué lindo. Oh, concha tu madre, weón. Ya, qué bonito, qué lindo,
All right.
qué
Naval
lindo.
Warfare Part 2, Max?
It just keeps going.
Let's go.
No, this is not really Naval Warfare
No,
Part
it's
2.
not.
This is
overselling it,
let's.
And that's not all though. But anyway, that's just a teaser.
We would love to come back to Naval Warfare, but this is not that. So this is what we really wanted to expand on was the early war naval gameplay specifically. A lot of you guys, we watched some of the early game naval gameplay, and it was lacking. We saw barges with HE grenades, basically. That was the culmination.
You don't like the barge
early.
battles, Max?
No, I really hated the barge battles for so long. So now we wanted to expand on this. We wanted there to be an actual game in the Navy in the early start of the game. We wanted to give more accessible naval options. Like these were. The smaller groups of players don't want to build a giant destroyer to get.
Sí, a mí
into the
también me
game.
gustó, Kenji.
But they
Sí,
want more
está
than
muy
just
bueno.
the gunboat. So this is for them. And we wanted to give the scout planes a dedicated combat function because we don't want scout planes to really stifle the infantry gameplay in the early game, like over land. So we wanted to really emphasize a purpose and a combat role that wasn't gonna just be gonna kill infantry and do strafing runs. So these guys, that's why they got the surface mine and the mini torpedo. Their main role is in this early war naval game. So we've got a new kind of mine, which is a surface mine, which is used for countering small ships. We've got an underwater mine, which you guys have seen, but now you can place it on the surface. But this mine is what's used for countering larger ships, or large ships. And all these mines can be placed as splines now and maintained.
Nos
as
dieron
strong
un rol
ships.
a
You
los
don't just
clanes
place them
chiquititos,
down and they
weón,
last
qué lindo.
for 2 days. They
Ahora
have to
podemos
be maintained,
poner y
maintenance
sacar minas.
supplies, and they can be destroyed with damage. So they're an actual
Yippee.
structure now. The role of scout planes is to interdict logistics and to help scout for these minefield ships. We have a lot of different ships, as you saw in the video, that have different specific roles, like anti-air, anti-ship, and shore bombardment. And we added a new light freighter, which is meant to deliver crates directly from one seaport to another seaport in smaller amounts. It can also deliver crates directly from a seaport to a storage ship, which is the bluefin, which you can use to support your naval landings.
Right.
So here's the mine boat. This was really cool. The work that was done on this is exemplary. And it was we used some of the stuff that comes from the construction equipment. So there's a really cool animation where the mines sort of drop off the back and then get submitted to the build site. But we'll let you guys sort of give that a shot. It's got a machine gun on the back, which can help protect it against scout planes. The light freighter I explained a little bit earlier. The crates themselves are represented on the deck of the ship. So if you're attacking a light freighter, you actually know if it's full.
Really
There's a lot of those memes of like, oh, my bluefin was empty, but now this one there's no denying if you killed something with value.
Está muy bueno.
The light boat. This is used predominantly for escorting ships. This is pretty effective at countering.
Posiblemente un mes
aircraft,
un
really. So
mes
it's useful
más.
for escorting like the larger ships as well.
16 de
This one's pretty
febrero.
fast. It uses a new type of ammo that is specific for countering aircraft.
Me sorprende que no hayan puesto estructuras
It
todavía.
shreds the scout planes, so if you see one of these, avoid it. Similar for the Wardens, theirs is a little bit
Ok,
larger,
puedo llegar a
tougher,
febrero.
but it performs a similar role, but it's slower.
Drop a little bit
Joder, weón.
renders here.
And I like that each of these have deck space that, like, even if you don't want to use it for its intended purpose, you can still walk around on there with guns and use it for anything. It's a sandbox game. The medium boat. So this is the one that's meant to counter other small boats. So think of this kind of like a tank on the water. It's meant to shoot at other,
Una
other
bandera
ships,
posiblemente.
the infantry boats, the freighters. It could be used for raiding, but or protecting your logistics chains. It should be noted. Well, I guess we'll get to the next one. So a similar thing for the Warden gunboat or the Warden medium boat. This is like their
Una
light
maldita
tank,
es una
meant to
tortuga,
be
weón.
the premier way of destroying other ships. It's worth mentioning that these are shipyard vehicles. These are not facility. These are all shipyard, right? Because like we don't have big vehicles for these ships yet. These are like the base vehicles of these ships. You don't need to build facilities for these.
Yeah, is it accurate to say, Max, that one of the driving forces of this is just to just allow more players?
A mí me gusta la
participate?
cañonera que tenemos,
Yep.
la gunship de
And
siempre.
they're not even. I could be. Maybe I'll just say that then. I'm not actually completely sure, but it's meant to be accessible for everybody.
Yeah.
And the siege boat. So there's a bombardment. There's a way to bombard the shore with these things. These are all early game vehicles.
Hola,
I should note.
Eukis.
These are
Bienvenido.
like very early game. Think like the first couple days of the war, you'll be able to run these. So they have these bunker busters early war. They are extremely powerful for busting things open near the shoreline, and that's intended so that you guys can still potentially perform naval landings early on in the game, but they're limited to the sea. And remember, there are sea mines. So even though there's quite a powerful shore bombardment weapon now, remember there's also ways to protect against these sort of things.
Está muy bacán este update, weón. Las cago.
We did a new colonial gunboat.
What's different about this one, Max?
It has an interior space, which nobody asked for. There has been an ongoing complaint that the Warden gunboat is just superior in every way, and one of the main criticisms was that it has this interior space where players can be protected. So we tried our best to alter it in days past, and you'll notice that we still use it in the shore bombardment ship. So we've just changed its role to something new, and instead, in place, we've given you this brand new colonial gunboat. So they should be way more symmetrical, the colonial gunboat and the Warden gunboat. And these gunboats, the gunboats are important. They are still
Es un
the only
flotador
way
con un
to,
mortero,
for small
weón, que
ships
chucha.
to attack large ships. All of these other ships, they're not going to be
Como un
effective
barco,
against
un
large
barco
ships.
hecho así
Large
como
ships
a
are
la
still,
desesperada.
when you see them,
No, todavía
they
no
still
es
should
UGIS.
dominate the seas.
Estamos
And
viendo
here's
cuándo
the
va a
Warden
salir. Deberían
Siege
de
boat.
anunciar pronto la
This
fecha.
is the Warden equivalent of the shore bombardment one. Again, remember this is early war. They will be powerful, but there are mines now to mitigate against them. It's cool that you can actually see the mines on the deck. It's not shown in this render, but that little pallet there, you can put the shells down. You actually have to walk them to the gun, which is really neat for a small ship. We didn't want to leave the large ships out in the cold. There's a lot of changes that we made to the large ships, but again, this is not the major. We'd love to make more changes to large ships, but these were the ones we needed to make now. We felt like the damage control gameplay, for players who were doing damage control, we felt like it was just way too rudimentary. It was too one-dimensional. So we wanted to give you guys more stuff to think about, more things to prioritize, and we wanted to address some key criticisms about large holes. So large holes can now be repaired with metal beams, but if a new leak opens in that compartment, it will reopen the large hole. So you'll still want to take these things to dry dock to repair them, but the large holes won't be as devastating as they were before. You'll still, we just didn't want you guys bailing water 100% of the operation. We just needed to give you an option to disable that. The disabled turrets can now be repaired, but it will take a large number of metal beams. So losing a turret in the midst of a fight will still be devastating and will still give damage control crews something to think about. But you can repair it so that losing a turret doesn't mean the end of the operation. You'll be able to reload all the barrels at once with a longer reload time. We did this because we want the damage control crews to feel like they have more things to think about. So you want to communicate to the gunners. You don't want the gunner to just keep hitting R whenever they can. You want to tell them when to reload because all 3 shells are in. So give you guys more stuff to think about and do. And of course, that I mentioned this earlier, the underwater mine can be placed on the surface, so now you need to be aware of mines. So keep an eye out. You'll want people on the decks looking out for those mines.
All right. This brings us to the final feature and piece of content for the Airborne update. One last thing, which I think everyone's going to be hopefully excited about.
Vamos a ver. No, los pusieron al tiro, weón. Y a ellos les dan un portaaviones y a nosotros no. Ya no importa, weón. Oh, qué lindo, weón, por la cresta, continuadora. Pusieron portaaviones de golpe, weón. Así, sin asco.
Yes. Nobody asked for this.
This has never been mentioned by anyone.
Wow.
Ever.
Wow.
No one's ever wanted these vehicles
Wow.
in the game.
Wow.
The Colonial Aircraft Carrier. So this one is, there's 2 aircraft that can launch from this, the dive bomber and the fighter plane. So there's an advantage to being able to launch the fighter because the fighter is the premier weapon for protecting against like bombing runs and other aircraft. So being able to launch a basic fighter from the ocean is the Colonial's biggest advantage. The dive bombers, you'll also be able to launch from this thing to help attack and
Está
assist
bonito, weón.
against
Está muy lindo.
other ships. And you can rearm them here as well. But and we spent some time, a lot of time
Parece
trying to
naval.
like fine
No
tune
nos
how
da para
hard
tanto
it is
todavía,
to take
Kenji.
off and
Lo
land on
siento.
these things. It will take a challenge. It will take a lot of skill, but it is doable, and it's awesome when you can. When you finally figure out how to do it, it just feels great. That elevator goes up and down. There's whole roles associated with that.
No nos da para tanto, con cueva para batallón antiaéreo.
Maintaining aircraft on these things. The Warden aircraft carrier. So, like I mentioned earlier, the Wardens get an extra fighter, something that the Colonials simply don't. And now I hope it becomes clear why. The point of this fighter is to launch it from this aircraft carrier. This fighter was designed for this aircraft carrier. It's you can fly in, you'll land next to the ship. And
Algo es algo.
Crane it back
Pero
up
yo
on
creo que
and
para la
rearm
próxima
it and
update posiblemente nos den un
bring
portaaviones a
along the
nosotros
aircraft with you. It's
y a
a lot
ellos les
easier
den
to take off with- take
una
off and land
actualización
with these,
de...
and again, you don't have to
de
use
¿cómo
the
se llama?
aircraft
De
with these
Battleship.
aircraft. They can fly off and you can
Para
bring them
nivelar.
from other places. But having this aircraft carrier is what's going to enable your naval fleets to bring the aircraft with you, to have that mobile airfield that allows you to rearm and refuel right next to the front and allow the aircraft to get the maximum out of it.
Está muy lindo, weón. Eso sí, el Warden me encanta, weón. Está muy lindo.
And brings us to the release date. So,
¡No!
Airborne's gonna be
Febrero 9.
arriving on February the 9th. So look out for that date. And there's something else to talk about. So we've been working on Foxhole for a long time, and to celebrate the 10 years of Foxhole development, we're going to be
No
launching
me
a special
pregunté a mí,
edition
Kenji.
on Steam.
Pregúntale a los devs.
And this edition is for longtime players.
El 9 de
we're intending it
febrero,
for
weón.
players
9
that
de
have been with us
febrero.
for years,
Necesitaba
who
más
want
tiempo
to
yo,
support the
weón.
project and support the updates and hopefully get a few extra things. And we'll talk about those extra things. One of them, there's going to be a art book, and this is really cool. It's going to be hundreds of pages of concept art from the history of the
Sí.
game over the 10
Vayan
years.
preparándose, cabros.
And there's going to be lore and development notes included as a part of this. And the next thing is there's going to be a soundtrack that includes all the music from the game. And just to note, all the music is done by our local composer, Ram DePrisco, that is local to Toronto, which we're based out of. And he's been working with us for the 10 years making music for all the way from the first trailer we launched to the updates throughout the year, and the Inferno update, new tracks were added, and we've just even up till last year or a year and a half ago, we added some new tracks. So all that's all included in one place here.
I mean, as a fun fact, just since we're on the topic, Ram has actually also worked with us on our previous game as well, and will be working with us in the future on Anvil. So it's a long-term collaborator.
Yeah, and we're also going to be including some new exclusive illustrations that are focused on the lore side of Foxhole. These are really cool. The concept art team has worked really hard on this, and I some of these illustrations are just really amazing. I've just been completely blown away, and we're just really excited that we're going to be able to give this to you guys in wallpaper form for your phone and your desktop. And there's two in-game things, and these are again in theme with Foxhole's development history. First is you're going to be able to change your UI to be themed like prior updates. So this includes entrenchment, arms race, winter army, inferno, and basically all of the major update themes are going to be included here. You can switch into UI, you can randomize it, and it's just a cool thing to be able to change your background in game. And finally, there's going to be a supporter badge to show that you have been a supporter of the game. And that's it. There's no skins. There's no season pass type stuff. This is all just some things to celebrate the long history of Foxhole development, and it's gonna be coming on February 9th, but the page should be coming up
Ojo.
now or soon
Ojo.
on Steam, and you can go there and add it to your wish list, so you can be notified to get it on launch day. And again, this edition is for longtime players who want to support the project. And if you are able to get it, I do want to note that a lot of the content here has been available on the website or in blog form for free for some time. A lot of the concept art, every major update, we do a blog post that contains all the concept art for the update, and that's not going to change. That's we're going to be doing one of those posts for this update as well, and that's going to remain free, as well as some of the music tracks you can also get on our website. So that stuff is going to change.
There will probably be a lot of new insights and look into the development that I don't know that we've talked about before, or concepts that maybe didn't
there
hit
is
it. Yeah.
There are new things that are part of this, but just wanted to clarify that we're not going to be taking away anything or doing less. So that's basically it. And let's see what we have. Oh yeah, so just to talk about the schedule, couple of things happening in the next couple of weeks. First, the Airborne gameplay trailer, official trailer, voiced by Jeffrey Jennings from Press Corps, who has once again, we're very grateful that they've helped us with the trailer voiced by them, and that's something that will be dropping, I think, any moment, and hopefully we can get that into chat, because it's an amazing, well, I think the voiceover is amazing. I like the trailer too, but the voiceover always
Tenemos
just sort
fecha.
of,
Febrero 9,
just sort of
muchachos.
elevates
Febrero
these
9.
trailers so much.
Hay muchas cosas que decir.
And after,
Como dice Eugis, toca
the
llamar a
stream,
las
there's gonna
armas.
be a Q&A on the Foxhole Reddit. January 20th, Dev Branch opens the pre-patch war. And we're also going to be doing a concept art dev blog post. And the date's February 5th there. That may change depending on our schedule. I didn't mark that as a tentative thing, but that will be coming one way or another. And like I said, we're gonna continue to post our concept art on our blog. And then finally, February 9th is the launch day.
Hey, you
And then the
mean.
one thing that we do want
¿Cómo
to
estáis,
stress
Jenny?
is that we do have new
Besito
updates
y abrazos para
coming
ti.
in 2026. This is there is actually some content and features that we initially wanted to do for the Airborne update, but we couldn't. But that's starting to shape up into some content and feature that is going to be coming through 2026. And I think that is about it. So yeah, again, this is the end of the stream, but everybody encourage you to go over and watch the Airborne trailer, as it's cool. And that's it. That's it, Matt.
All right. Thank you, everybody. And the Dev Branch will be launching in parts soon. And so we'd love to get your feedback on all of the features that we will be sharing with the Dev Branch, so that we can make sure that your voices are also heard on all of that stuff. And I haven't had to say this in a while, so it's I gotta like loosen up a little bit before I can get into it.
Stretch.
You know?
You crack your neck.
Yeah, you just gotta. But as always, stay foxy. See you next time.
Bueno. ¿Qué opinan después de todo lo que acabamos de ver? Mira el baño. Suscríbanse, den un like mientras voy al baño porque vamos a comentar algunas cosas. Permiso. Bueno, eh, me dejó anodado lo que vendría siendo esta cuestión. Me sorprende que no hayan puesto estructuras, pero ya más o menos llegando al final del stream lo entendí. Porque al fin y al cabo parece que los aviones van a ser un poco más caros de lo que se puede imaginar. Entonces al fin y al cabo vale la pena que las defensas sean todas manejadas por humanos y no por la IA, por así decirlo, que maneja la estructura antiinfantería o antitanque, inclusive artillería. ¿Vale? Eh, me sorprendió ver mucho que metiesen ¿cómo se llama? Los, eh, los, los portaaviones, ¿vale? Fue algo así como más o menos, eh, como muy de sorpresa. Y como les dije, no sé, fue muy raro ver portaaviones de golpe. Yo dije, en una de esas van a meter portaaviones ya después, mucho después. O sea, en una segunda update, como en una Airborne 2, por así decirlo. Pero parece que no va a ser así. Y lo otro que les puedo decir, chiquillos, yo tengo un clancito de Foxhole, para los que quieran jugar. Vamos a estar metidos ahí el día 9 en los primeros instantes en los que eh, se abra para poder entrar a jugar, ¿cachai? Vamos a estar ahí, vamos a estar metidos. Voy a empezar a configurar el Streamlabs para poder jugar Foxhole de manera tranquila, para evitar los stream snipping. Espero que les haya gustado bueno, reaccionando. No vieron ninguna reacción porque yo estaba así como estúpidamente babeando por este update. Eh, y eso, pues, muchachos, suscríbanse, un pulgarcito arriba. Eh, Nos vemos el 9 de febrero para empezar a jugar este update. Vamos a empezar a revivir el clan del 83RD. Pero también hay otro clancito por ahí, ¿cachai? Que está formando un amigo que me ayuda mucho a mí, que es Human. Le mando un saludo a él. Eh, y vamos a estar jugando juntos, yo creo. Vamos a estar experimentando ahí lo que se siente estar ¿cómo se llama? En la update aérea. Eh, Sin más, sin menos, el enlace a mi Discord está en la descripción para que se puedan unir a nuestra comunidad. Y eso, pues, chiquillos, espero que lo hayan pasado bien. Me babié todo el stream, te lo juro. Voy a tener que ir a cambiarme de pañales, ¿cachai? Estoy muy explícito. Muy bueno, muy bueno. Eso, muchachos, espero que les haya gustado. Tengan un buen fin de semana. Hasta luego.